Okay. All right, welcome everyone to tonight's council meeting of Tuesday, June the 21st. We right now are starting with our open session. We will be going in camera. I would be looking for a motion of council to go in camera. Councillor Dabrowski, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, that's unanimous that we're going to go in camera. So we will be going downstairs to committee room 2 for our in-camera meeting. After which we will remind everyone first to bring your agendas with you. That's the yellow package that's sitting in front of you. And then after which we will resume the regular scheduled council meeting upstairs here in Chambers. So that's it. We'll see you downstairs. Thank you. Just give me a second to get seated, I guess. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start tonight's council meeting of Tuesday, June the 21st. We just concluded our in-camera meeting downstairs, and now we'll start with the regularly scheduled meeting. So first order of business we start off with is the singing of O Canada, and I will read the bio of the singer, and then we do have a pre-recorded version that will play on the screens. So the singer for tonight's O Canada is Violet Felino. Violet attends St. Michael's School in Niagara-on-the-Lake. She's 10 years old. She's in grade 5. She's been taking singing lessons since grade 1. She's been a part of many local music festivals. Violet is nominated to sing in the Ontario Music Festival Association Provincials in 2 categories this year. She loves singing for friends and family, and tonight she's going to sing to open up our city council meeting. So if you'd please join me and stand for the singing of O Canada.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love, in all thy sons command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Violet, that was amazing. She even had the hand gestures. She was amazing, way beyond her years. Thank you very much, Violet. Well done. Well done. That's a keeper. I think we'll have to play that one again. It was very good. There you go. Next up is our land acknowledgement and traditional Indigenous meeting opening. Today is National Indigenous Peoples Day. To recognize this day, which falls on summer solstice, the falls are illuminated orange from 9:45 till 10 p.m. to celebrate the diverse cultures, voices, experiences, and histories of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people in Canada. I'd now like to invite Chief Stacey Laforme, Chief of the Mississaugas of the Credit, to share his testimony as we acknowledge and thank the Indigenous peoples who were stewards of this land for a millennia before us.
Ani, Juma, Chief R. Stacey Laforme, Mississaugas of the Credit. I'd like to acknowledge the Creator, the world around us, and our place within it. I acknowledge the many nations that walked this land in the past, the many nations that walk it today, and welcome you to the treaty lands of the Mississaugas of the Anishinaabe. The treaties with the Mississaugas are the Niagara Treaty of 1781 and the Between the Lakes Treaty of 1792. I would also like to acknowledge the Treaty of 1764 that recognized the Royal Proclamation of 1763, which set a new relationship between the Indigenous people and the Crown. Chimagwich Mpei.
Thank you for that, Stacey Laforme. Next, we're looking for an adoption of the minutes from our council meeting of May the 31st. Motion by Councillor Pietrangelo, seconded by Councillor Kerrio. All those in favor? Okay, that's approved. Next up is the mayor's reports and announcements. We start off. Disclosures. What's that? Disclosures. Did I miss that? Oh, I'm sorry. disclosures of a pecuniary interest. Thank you for that, Councillor. Councillor Kerrio. Then Councillor Tom.
Thank you, Worship.
Campbell.
10.9, Fallsview BIA Budget. I'm a member of that organization. 12.1, Fallsview BIA request to amend the agreement with the Convention Center. I'm a member of that BIA.
Okay, thank you for that. We've got Councillor Campbell and then Lococo.
Thank you, Your Worship. In a previous, actually,
Is your mic on?
it's been a long time. The issue dealing with the Downtown Board of Management and the Heart Niagara picnic that was brought up at the last council meeting. I'm a member of the Heart Niagara, but more importantly, my wife is the chair of the board.
Okay, great. Thank you
And
for that.
I've sent the report to Bill.
Mr. Clerk, you've got that? Okay, thank you. Councillor Lococo, then Pietrangelo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Conflict on 10.1 Downtown BIA update of officers. My spouse's former employer, and I've already emailed the clerk.
Thank you for that. Councillor Pietrangelo.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. MW 2022-37, MW 2022-38. They both deal with school crossing guards whereby input was received from the NCDSB, which is my employer. I'll leave this here for the clerk.
Great, thank you for that. Any other disclosures? Okay, seeing none. In my excitement to get to the mayor's announcements, I seem to have missed that. Thanks for pointing that out. Starting off with obituaries. Dennis Halley, brother-in-law of Tony DeMario in our Municipal Works Department, passed away. Mark Drolet of our Environmental Services Department passed away. Antonia Tony Canidi, mother-in-law of Sarah Canidi in our Legal Department, passed on. And Melissa, sister of Joe Murkai, one of our downtown business operators, passed away as well. Canada Day is Friday, July the 1st. And a reminder to everybody that the parade starts at 11 a.m. along the classic route, downtown Victoria, Valleyway, and then Queen Street. We still need volunteers. So if you'd like to volunteer, sign up at niagarafalls.ca. So anybody in this audience, feel free. You can do that at any time, even now during this meeting. Something more interesting than listening to council. We'll have marching bands, stilt walkers, characters, project share, and as usual, many more things. So remember to wear your Canadian colors and your Canadian flags. Events, there's a number of free community events all weekend. The Niagara Falls History Museum will have an event at 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. The outdoor pools will be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 1 p.m. until 7 p.m. The Gale Center Arena will have skating on Sunday, 2:15 till 4:15 p.m. And the Niagara Farmers Market will be Saturday from 7 a.m. until 1 p.m. And that'll take place, of course, at the McBain Center parking lot until we get the new Farmers Market opened up behind the History Museum. I'd like to thank certain councillors for representing the city or being with me at flag raisings. I was joined by Councillor Thompson. As you can see, we had the Queen's Jubilee flag raising, the Italian Heritage flag raising, the Seniors Month flag. I'll slow down there. Italian flag. That's the Italian flag raising. Then we had the Seniors Month flag raising, and the Filipino Independence Day flag raising. So thank you to Councillor Thompson for being there at those flag raisings. Also, we had a Key to the City presentation for William Shatner at the recent Comic-Con event. It was organized by Councillor Dabrowski. Great job. Huge success and lineups like I've never seen before at your event. Of course, William Shatner, Canadian actor, best known for his role as Captain Kirk in Star Trek. He signed the Key to the City and then auctioned it off, and it raised $16,500 for his children's charity. So thank you for that. June is Parks and Recreation Month. Thank you to our incredible staff. We've got all sorts of events, openings, programs for seniors, youth, and different committees. They're the front-facing staff, and they do an incredible job in our community. So thank you to all of them, and special recognition for June. Mother Earth Day took place at Fireman's Park. I was also joined by Councillor Lococo, Councillor Pietrangelo, and Councillor Strange. So thank you for joining us at that event. The Red Raiders just celebrated their new home. It'll be at the Princess Margaret School. It's a great partnership with the DSBN. They did a complete retro and upgrade of the gymnasium, and it will be the permanent home for the Red Raiders. So they're very, very excited to have this space now. So it's a great program in the city. A lot of people have taken part in it. Nick Walenda. It's hard to believe it's been 10 years since he walked across the Canadian Horseshoe Falls. And we've got this really neat figure donated by Ripley's. Ripley's built it. It's now positioned just beside Table Rock and between Table Rock and the falls. You can go and stand on it. You can do a selfie picture. You can do a picture, and it kind of gives the look that you're on the wire with Nick Walenda as he looked 10 years ago. As you can see on the right, he's changed a little bit. I was joined also by Councillor Thompson for that event. So a big event, and at that time, 10 years ago, the biggest event in the world that day took place right here in Niagara Falls. We just celebrated the Korean War Gapyeong Battle Victory Monument. We've got some pictures there, and I was joined by Councillor Lococo. Congratulations to the cemetery staff for doing an absolutely amazing job at getting things ready. It was an extremely hot day, and some of these veterans were in World War II and fought in the Korean War as well. The event was in partnership with the Korean Veterans Association and the city of Gapyeong. The mayor of Gapyeong joined us as well. And we'd encourage everyone to take the time to visit this beautiful spot at the Fairview Cemetery to see this monument. It was very well done. A lot of guests came here from Korea, and it'll be a proud addition to the cemetery for all. We've got the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier and a number of other notable war memorials. I'd like to thank city councilors for representing the city at different events. We had Pride in the parking lot, and we had Councillor Lococo represent the city. As well, we had the opening ceremony of the Niagara Military Museum's Afghanistan exhibit. I'd like to thank Councillor Thompson for representing the city at that event. We did have some grand openings and business happenings. First up, I was joined by Councillor Lococo for the Women's Place of South Niagara grand opening, as they added on a whole bunch of space and upgraded what they had. Very, very beautiful what they've done there. We had the 50-year celebration of the Flying Saucer, which, hard to believe it's been 50 years, and I'm sure everybody's got their own stories and their own memories of the Flying Saucer and some of these late-night eats that you could oftentimes go there and have. What's that?
Steak subs.
Steak subs, that's right. Especially saucer fries coming from right over the river. You'd make that pit stop and then go right to bed. It was a perfect combination. We just opened up Buds for Less Cannabis. They just had their grand opening in the Factory Outlet Mall on Lundy's Lane. We had the Canadian Tire Jumpstart fundraiser. Yours truly did the dunk tank, and I was joined by Councillor Pietrangelo that day, and we raised $2,500 for the Jumpstart program. So another great event, and luckily it was a pretty warm day. We just recently opened the Tools in the Trade Boot Camp, which is on Portage Road next to Saint Antoine. It's a great place for kids to get a feel for the trades. It's a one-day free thing where they can try all the different trades: carpentry, plumbing, HVAC, electrical, and get a feel for if it's something they'd want to pursue. Everybody that signs up gets a tool belt filled with tools, and it's a great opportunity for them to get a real feel for the trades, something in desperate need and a great career. We had the grand opening of WD Craftline Inc. That was on Dawson off of Dorchester. There'll be WD for windows and doors. And we also had Ivory Dental Studio grand opening. That's Dorchester near Lundy's Lane. That just opened up with all the latest technology for teeth and all dental work. It was pretty neat. The advances, unbelievable. The things that they can do with their artificial intelligence and latest technology. And lastly, I was joined by Councillor Strange at the Wendy Leard School of Dance 40th, 41st, and 42nd year celebration. Of course, for COVID, we couldn't do it the proper way when we wanted to, but we did celebrate, and what an amazing event. Hundreds of kids, hundreds and hundreds of families, and the big smiles on everybody's faces as they get back to the usual. So congratulations to Wendy Leard. She also, over COVID, won the Barbara Frum Award So tip our hat to all the great work she's done there. And lastly, the next council meeting will be on Tuesday, July the 12th. So be sure to mark it in your calendars, because I'm sure you're all going to want to come back and catch the next exciting meeting. All right. Now, we go to deputations and presentations. Item 6.1 on our agenda, we have the Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee here. So I understand we've got some people who are going to speak. We've got scholarship presentations and the annual deputation. So I'd like to welcome to the microphone whoever our guest speaker is going to be for today. I see Aiden and Saloni. So, and is the microphone on? You got to make sure the little red light's on. And there's two mics. You both got mics?
Just one needs to be on.
Pardon me?
Just one's fine.
Oh, one's fine. Okay, good.
Okay.
Sorry about the Pope-mobile around you, but it is what it is right now.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Diodati. My name is Saloni Sharma,
And my name is Aiden Belong.
and we are the co-chairs of the Niagara Falls Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee, or MIAC. And the 2021-22 Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee would like to take this opportunity to update the Mayor and Council about the projects and activities that took place throughout this year. Despite transitioning back and forth between virtual and in-person formats at the beginning of this year, the team has shown incredible resilience to be able to collectively achieve our goals. I'm very proud of all that MIAC has been able to achieve this year together and what we've learned throughout this experience. Before we begin, on behalf of MIAC, I'd like to thank all of you for your support and your leadership in guiding this committee and our city. The work that you do here is recognized and appreciated by all of us. Do we have our slides?
Do we have the slide deck?
Let's check with our IT people.
Yes.
Can you get the mouse?
So our leadership and our annual plan. So next slide. The Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee has a mandate to provide to provide a voice for youth in the Niagara Falls while advising council on important issues for the city's younger population, and to encourage facilities and programs to enhance the quality of life, health, and well-being of the youth in our community. At the beginning of each year, the new MIAC team participates in a leadership orientation day to learn about our roles and responsibilities as committee members, to get to know each other and build a team, and to take an active role in an annual planning process. This year, we were able to hold this training at the Mpei Community Center, as you can see on the very top picture, and participate in team-building activities to identify our strengths as a group. This year, MIAC elected to operate with 5 subcommittees: Giving Back, Mental Health, Just for Fun, Youth Voice, and Green, which you'll hear all about a little bit more later on. Each subcommittee has a slightly different focus, which allows for each individual to contribute based on their strengths and also offers additional leadership opportunities for our members. Regular MIAC meetings take place once per month, and subcommittees report and receive feedback from the team as a whole. The following summarizes the events and activities that were planned for this year. In some cases, the plans were not able to be implemented.
Arising from the COVID-19 pandemic, this year's MIAC made huge strides to once again establish itself as an advocate for youth in Niagara Falls in every capacity possible. At the start of this year, as we were switching back and forth from in-person and online, we wanted to start an initiative where students started to follow our Instagram page and were able to be notified of any and all events we were planning. With our already large following on our Instagram account that we've had for over 8 years, we had to do something innovative in order to get a lot more new high school students to follow us. Our solution was to create a business card outlining what MIAC was and hand them out to every student in all 5 of the major Niagara Falls high schools. We also offered a prize if the people followed and liked Instagram posts. After the contest ended, we were able to increase our follow count by 150%. In the winter, we also held our coldest night of the year fundraiser, in which we fundraised for individuals in Niagara that don't have shelter to stay warm during the winter season. As a team, we fundraised large amounts of donations from all of our different social media streams and word of mouth. Then on the coldest night of the year day, we held a walk around the neighborhoods near the Mpei Community Center. Our last large group initiative that we hold annually for MIAC is our 2 large scholarships for grade 12 students in Niagara Falls, which we will be presenting shortly. Our first scholarship, in which we have annually, is the Mitchenson Scholarship, which was developed with a focus beyond academic achievement. The student that wins this award must demonstrate solid leadership and long-term involvement in their community or school, and can be awarded to 1 or more students with up to $2,000 in scholarships. The second of these scholarships is the Mpei Scholarship, which has returned for a second year in recognition of the ongoing impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic on finances. One or more students will also win up to $1,000 this year. Students were eligible to apply for both scholarships, however, they cannot win both. At our second last monthly meeting of our year, our team went through all of the amazing applications that we received and picked our winners. Giving Back. Chair, Katie Hutching, Pranchi Patel. MIAC's Giving Back Subcommittee is dedicated to contributing time into our community and paying it forward through volunteerism, fundraising, and monetary donations while helping support youth in our community. The 2022 Volunteer Hour Auction was one of our many events. With many students in need of volunteer hours and wanting to give back to the community, Giving Back ran a program giving ideas on where students can get volunteer hours as well as help our community. With the students completing the most hours, they got a basket of local products from small businesses in Niagara Falls. This event was successful, allowing students to give back to their community and as well as supporting MIAC and local Niagara businesses. Another event from Giving Back was the MIAC Movie Night, which was held recently. The MIAC Movie Night was an outdoor movie night at Fireman's Park, allowing students to enjoy games before the movie, connecting with other students from high schools in Niagara Falls, while helping our community by collecting Cancer Project Share. This event was a huge success, with collecting 1 full Project Share basket and having over 100 youth across Niagara reconnect while supporting our community. Giving Back looks forward to another great year, continuing to help our community and allow students to give back and connect with ours from our local 5 high schools.
Thank you. And moving to our next subcommittee. There we go. Our Mental Health Subcommittee, chaired by Avery Watson. MIAC's Mental Health Subcommittee, composed of 11 students, had a very memorable first year. The purpose of the Mental Health Subcommittee is to spread awareness and advocate for strong mental health care and supports for students in Niagara Falls. To commence the year, we hosted an online Instagram contest for Project Played, which Pathstones spearheaded to raise awareness for suicide and mental health services within Niagara. The committee led an art contest for high school students in Niagara Falls to encapsulate artists' visions of mental health and wellness while incorporating the MIAC tagline, Think Well, Feel Well, Be Well. The winner received $50, and their art was printed and distributed on t-shirts at the MIAC Movie Night that Aiden mentioned. In addition, the committee created a knowledge mobilization toolkit comprising an online brochure with wellness tips, services, and local businesses in Niagara. Although it has yet to be launched, the pieces are in place for next year's term. We also reached out to several local businesses willing to donate and involve themselves with our projects and mobilized a few generous donors for our Academic Success Night. This free event was hosted by the Mpei Community Center and advertised as a night to study with tutors, friends, food, and games while having mental health resources from the library and a guided meditation session. Lastly, we hosted a short story contest on self-love with the topic, To Love Oneself is the Beginning of a Lifelong Romance. A gift card and signed certificate from the mayor was given to the winner. Although the pandemic interfered with some plans, it was still a very successful year, and we have even brighter plans for next year's subcommittee.
Next is our subcommittee Just for Fun. The chairs are Adam Royston and Mac Agredo. The JFF committee, or Just for Fun committee, is made up of 15 students who all have the same goal, to make high school more fun. This year, the subcommittee hosted a MIAC Trivia Night, an opportunity for students in high school to show off their knowledge of city history, with $75 of prizes to be won. The first trivia night went well. Later on in the year, a gift basket was given out with fun sports prizes. And to wrap up this year's committee, they collaborated with the Giving Back Subcommittee to plan fun sports, lawn games, and other activities before the screening.
Youth Voice, chaired by Hinkle Patel. The Youth Voice team is made up of 9 students, all with the aim of advocating and providing resources for the students of Niagara Falls. In partnership with Hatch, Youth Voice collaborated to plan and lead a STEM Q&A event on March 30th, 2022. The event targeted high school students with the goal of providing them with resources and information about the STEM fields. Participants had the opportunity to listen to and ask questions of local professionals in STEM fields sharing their professional journeys. In addition, the team hosted and planned for a 2022 Let's Talk Money event. This was a financial literacy event where professionals from the Niagara region were invited to share information relating to finance and next steps for students graduating from high school. This event was planned for June 8th, 2022, but eventually had to be canceled.
Our last and 5th subcommittee is the Green Subcommittee, chaired by Maddox Libera and Pranchi Patel. The 2021-22 MIAC term marked the first full year of the Green Subcommittee after my initial founding of it, and proved to be a very successful year for our group. We begin with a natural art contest for the youth to participate in during the winter break, along with participating in a tree decorating fundraiser where we made ornaments out of recycled products. Our tree sold over $500 to charity. We then executed the second annual Green Movement contest on Goose Chase. Stanford was our winner of our first and second year, and we had over 350 submissions this year. Then moving into the spring, we started working on 3 large initiatives. Collaborating with Project Share, our group started a program for youth across Niagara to attend the community garden at Gate Alliance Church. Students can learn to garden, spend time outdoors, and gain volunteer hours. This occurs each Friday from 3 o'clock until 5 o'clock. And will be running until the garden season ends in the fall. Our group also started and is helping with the Children's Memorial Garden at Fairview Cemetery. This will act as a place for family members to reflect and remember lost loved ones as we worked with the high schools to build benches, a bridge, and a pergola. We are currently working on the landscaping and planting of native and perennial flowers and plants and hope to finish the initiative before next term. Finally, our involvement with the Mother Earth Day on June 11th. We had our community add moss into the moss wall installation sent to Victoria Avenue Library, a pot painting station, and gave away free MIAC merch, wildflower seeds, and lavender plants.
And that concludes our year in review. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. I just want to say, first off, I know we've got another part to do here. What a great job the Mayor's Youth Advisory do. I mean, they're not just local, they're regional now. Oh, I'm on. My mic's on. What a great job that you do. You're our leaders here and the whole committee. It's a real committee team effort, and how important we really value your input. And you're so active and engaged, and this report was fantastic. It's obvious you're not just there for meetings. You're there to actually roll up your sleeves and do things. And I just want to acknowledge and let you know how much we appreciate. What a great job. Your family should be very proud of you, the effort you're doing, and I think you're showing us the kind of citizens you're going to be going forward. And obviously you'll probably be filling some of these chairs as well, so we'll be in very good shape. So I just want to say on behalf of the city, thank you. So we do have some questions from council. Councillor Strange.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Not really a question, but I just want to thank you for the presentation, Saloni and Aiden. And I'm a rep on your committee, and it's been a real pleasure. You know what? Just through the pandemic and going on virtually, and it's actually, you guys have taught me a lot going to the other committees, because I didn't know what. You go on these committees, you don't know what, hands up, breakout rooms. I had no idea what a breakout room. They broke into a room, and I was by myself. I couldn't get out. So it was, I thought it was a Twilight Zone. I thought Black Mirrors or something. But just, you know what, if you learn everyone from you students, it's just you learn to pivot, and now you got, 5 different committees. We got a regional youth committee now, which comes directly from you guys. So you guys have just been amazing. And Goose Chase, they kind of came up with Goose Chase that we stole from you guys and were implemented on our recreation. So I want to thank you for, we're all learning from you guys. And so thank you, it's been a pleasure, and I hope I continue to be. Is there any, I just want to ask, is there anyone that's leaving? So are you the only, most of you guys, so, and you're off to where? Do you know where you guys are going yet?
Waterloo Engineering.
And I'll be going to Queen's University for Honors Health Sciences.
I'm going to Lakehead University for Teachers College.
Well, it's just amazing. We had actually, the last meeting, we had a few from last year who did their first year at university, and it's really nice. Oh, another one, sorry, go ahead.
I'm going to Rockford Biotech.
That's just amazing, when you're looking at, is there any more, sorry? He's going back to school. But I just want to thank you guys. You know what? You guys have taught us a lot. And like the mayor said, you guys are our future leaders, and it's really nice. I remember the last committee meeting, a few people from university first year came back, and Beth Engel, who was one of her mentors, came, and she left the group now because she's got a bigger, not a bigger job, but anywhere, going to another place. And I remember her doing a cartwheel because she was so excited to see the three that came back. So I want to congratulate all of you and wish you the best of luck in the future. And hopefully you'll be in that seat in a few years.
Sooner than later. Big hand. Now, Sloane and Aiden, we've got a presentation we're going to do now.
Yep.
Will you lead us through, or?
I'm not exactly sure.
I jump in here if you
Okay.
guys want to help out.
Yeah.
Once again, help me hold the giant things before I smudge everything.
Would you like to come? You can come on this side. Yeah, why don't you come on this side?
There we go. All right.
Yeah, little gate there. Why don't we get all the committee over here, join us. Don't be shy.
If you want to take pictures, come on right up front here.
Who's minding the shot that for our shot? Pardon? Who's taking their moments?
I didn't have any time to wait for these, I'm sorry.
What? Well, you can be in the picture, can't you?
Oh, okay.
Are you on? You're on the committee.
Yeah.
No, somebody else got to take it. No, we gotta get here. Chris will take it. No, you gotta get in here. One of our interns that worked in the office. I mean, you guys are amazing. So do you want to do it this way? So we'll kind of take it this way. And then, yeah, let's get the group, and then we'll do the presentation. So come on, you guys want to just then we'll do the presentation.
People don't trust older people with their phone, right?
Just crouch down. Don't take up any space.
Okay, I can see it on one.
You ready? 1, 2, 3, say pizza. Pizza. Awesome, I'm hungry to say that. So now we've got an award, so I'll take one.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, so for our first scholarship presentation, I would love to invite Ethan and Finesse to join us up on the stage. And I would also love to invite Tom Mitchenson to come up and join us for this one. So the first scholarship we're awarding tonight is the Jim Mitchenson Scholarship. Tom Mitchenson generously donated the funds for this scholarship in recognition of the community service that his father gave to the community. Tom, if you'd like to say a few words, you can say.
I guess what I would say about my father is that he would be so embarrassed and never have wanted a day like this. He just wouldn't have ever wanted the kind of recognition that he deserves for the contributions that he made to Niagara Falls over a long time. I think some of the members of the council probably know my father, and it's just been a pleasure to be able to contribute back in his memory to this wonderful organization. I come down every year for the presentation. It just is, it kind of wows you to know the kind of work that we the committee does and the accomplishments of the people who actually win the award. So and it's a very proud day for me.
Perfect. So yeah, the first recipient of our Jim Mitchenson Scholarship this year is Ethan Zan. I'm just going to slip that. You got it?
Are we
Congratulations. Congratulations, Ethan, for a job well done.
Absolutely.
It's like your third photo. Everybody, I can fit you all in on 0.5. Perfect.
Let's give him some congratulations. Because you're better.
And next up, we have got Finesse Warner.
Thank you. Everybody looking here? Awesome.
Hey. So now, just do you have a little bit of background on our two recipients, what school, what you're involved in? Maybe you want to start? And just-
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm going to Brock University for concurrent education. So I'm very excited about that. I've been involved in not only Niagara but in Hamilton for the past 10 years of my life. I actually go to McMaster. I mentor other kids starting out with treatments at McMaster. I'm on McMaster Youth Advisory Council. I help out around my school, around the city here, and it's just great to be here.
Awesome. Well done. High school.
St. Paul High School.
Okay, great. Excellent. And Finesse?
And I'm from A.M. Meyer, and I'm going to Toronto Metropolitan University for Graphic Communications Management. I'm part of React Niagara with Lori from Niagara Region Public Health, hopefully with Key Club at school and within the Eastern Canada District. Student council, all of
Here you have it. This is the future, right here, right now. We should be very proud. Families, you should be very proud of these youth. They're going to be making a huge difference in the future of this city. And you know, you invest in what you want to have more of. Brush the teeth you want to keep. And these are the teeth that we want to keep. So on behalf of the city, we want to say thank you very much and congratulations to all of you. And thank you for being Mayor's Youth Advisory Committees. We appreciate the gifts you've given us.
Mr. Mayor, I just
Yes.
want to, Nathan, if he's filling the spot for Beth, if you can introduce yourself to some of the counselors who may not know you, just came on the.
For sure.
So
But
take
before
it
we get
over,
there,
man.
we have one more scholarship.
Okay.
We do have
We
more.
do. Congratulations, Ethan and Finesse, again. Great work, and thank you again for your generous contribution in supporting the youth of tomorrow. But last but certainly not least, and my big old pile here, if I could invite Serena to join us up on. Joanna, I apologize. When you only see it written, you get confused. Last but not least, as Aiden and Swally discussed, last year NPEI was generous enough to donate on behalf of students to help support the financial challenges of COVID and graduating high school and moving off into university in such a turbulent time. So we're happy to be able to award Serena the NPEI Scholarship, the second annual NPEI Scholarship.
And Serena, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So I do go to St. Paul High School, and next year I will be going to McMaster. I'll be pursuing life sciences. Inside my school, I am student council vice president, and actually with Finesse, I don't know where she is. Okay. With Finesse, we serve together on the Eastern Canada District of Keiko International, which is a high school volunteerism organization. And yeah, so it's
Awesome.
great to be here. Thank you so much.
Great job. Is there any more secret awards?
Nope, that's all three. Yeah.
So on behalf of the city, a big hand for our youth. All right. Well, you guys are welcome to stick around for the rest of the night. I'll leave it with you. But if you don't, our feelings won't be hurt too much. Did family, any pictures family wanted to get, or did you get, okay, did you want to do that? You can come, if you want to come around, you come right here and do it. It makes it easier. So why don't we line ourselves up kind of so that we can all. Yeah, we'll do all of this, yeah. Yeah, and then we can do 2 rows. I'll crouch in the front. I'll limit it 1 spot. Yeah, taller people in the back. Taller people in the back. You're taller. You're taller too. You're taller too. Did you fit us all in? Good smile. Hold your words there. Yeah, Chris, I'll meet you. Yeah, I'm gonna grab one. Thank you so much. Big smile. Our pleasure. Don't move anybody. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Get smile. 2, 1. Oh, we got another one. We got another one. You guys get it? Come on over. Get it? Okay. So we're all good. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Have a great summer. Thank you. Well, do you have the planning thing there? I guess they didn't take us up on our offer.
No, they're coming back.
Oh, they're just getting some refreshments. Okay. Fair enough. Okay. That was nice. Okay, we're going to move along to the planning portion of our agenda. Now I ask our city clerk to please introduce the next item on the agenda.
A public meeting is now being convened to consider a proposed amendment to the city's official plan and zoning bylaw to permit a 10-story mixed-use building at 5647 to 5669 Main Street and part of 5662 Lowell Street. Notice was given by first-class mail in accordance with the Planning Act on May 24th, 2022, and by posting a sign on the property in question. Anyone who wants notice of the passing of the official plan and zoning bylaw amendment, to participate in any site plan process if applicable, or preserve their opportunity to appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal shall give notice to the city clerk immediately after today's public meeting or by using the sign-in sheets located in the just outside council chambers.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clerk. I'd just now like to ask our Director of Planning if she would please introduce our planner for this evening.
Thank you, Your Worship. With me tonight I have Julie Hanna. She's our planner too, who's going to introduce the project.
Okay, that's great.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council, and members of the public who are watching this remotely. This evening, I'm presenting the official plan and zoning bylaw amendment application for 3 parcels on Main Street and a portion of a property located on Lowell Street to permit a 10-story mixed-use development with commercial uses at grade and 107 dwelling units. The location of the subject property is outlined in the dark blue, and you can see the frontages along Main Street. There are 2 applications that have been received by the city. The first is an official plan amendment application, and that is requesting a special policy area to permit the 10-story building with a total of 107 dwelling units at a density of 250 units per hectare, and the zoning bylaw amendment is requesting a site-specific general commercial zone. The site plan is before you on the screen. It outlines the commercial uses closest to Main Street with the dwellings at the rear, and the dwellings would be above the entire building. The perspectives show the proposed building design. Again, the commercial units are at the front with the 8-story tower, and again, residential units at the back. We held a neighborhood open house, and we have also received public comments. There were several concerns that were identified by members of the public. The first is noise, light spillover, and loss of privacy, and these issues will be addressed through site plan control, where the plans that will be received will be reviewed. The second was increased traffic, and our transportation services staff have indicated that the existing road network can handle the traffic generated. The third is the proposed parking rate is low, and in response, our transportation services supports the parking rate. The fourth is questions regarding the tenants and ownerships of the units. The commercial units uses have not yet been identified, but they would be the permitted GC uses of that zone, and it is expected to be a condominium development. And the last concern was that it is not in character with the neighborhood, and in response, the neighborhood is changing, and the proposed development's design and use is compatible. In regards to the policy review, the applications are consistent and conform to the Planning Act, the provincial, regional, and city policies. Staff are supportive of this proposal, subject to the proposal providing a 45-degree angular plane from the rear lot line to the top of the building. And the proposed zoning relief is depicted on the slide before you. It's outlined in detail in the report. Again, staff support the proposed recommendations for zoning relief. And staff's recommendation is that council approve the official plan and zoning bylaw amendment application subject to the recommendations contained within the report before you this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hannah. Are there any questions of council members of Ms. Hannah? Okay, seeing none, members of the public are advised that failure to make an oral or written submission at this public meeting could result in the Ontario Land Tribunal dismissing any referral it receives. Failure to notify the city clerk to preserve their opportunity to appeal will result in staff rejecting an appeal as per section 3419 of the Planning Act. Council will now hear from anyone other than the applicant who wishes to speak to the proposed amendments. Is there anyone here to speak to the proposed amendments other than the applicant? Okay, seeing none, Mr. Clerk, do we have anyone else who wishes to speak?
Just in confirmation with information services staff, does not appear that there's anyone from the public online. We have the agent waiting his turn.
Okay. Council will now hear from the applicant or his or her representative. And we have somebody ready to speak?
We have Michael Allen online.
Michael
Allen.
Okay. Mr. Allen, are you there?
I am here. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you fine. Welcome to the meeting.
Thank you very much. We do have a bit of a presentation to go up. I'm not sure if we're allowed to share the screen or what's the best way to do this.
Yes, you are allowed. And are we able to do it? Okay, so we're going to have to kick you out and bring you back in. Oh, I think he's gone now. I think he's got to come back in. Let me know when he's back. He's back.
Okay.
Now, Mr. Allen, yeah, so probably high level because we're in a good spot here. I think we all read it through pretty good. So yeah, anything you want to add to the staff presentation would be good.
Okay, well, my presentation pretty much mimics the staff presentation, so I don't have to go through my full presentation if that appeases the council. So I'd be more than happy to answer any questions, comments, or concerns, and if need be, I can dive into the presentation at that point.
Okay, great. Why don't we find out from council? Is there any other questions of council for Mr. Allen? Yep, Councillor Lococo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through the mayor to the speaker. Mr. Allen, I was wondering if you can let us know the prices of the condos, apartments. Will they be condos? I'm assuming condos, not apartments. And are there any affordable housing in those units? There's 107 units there.
Yes, thank you, through you, Your Worship. So the units themselves are going to range in size anywhere from 600 square feet up to about 900 square feet, give or take. What that does, it allows us to provide quite a mix of units and unit styles. It also allows us to dictate the market so that we're really pushing for end users as opposed to just people that are investing, because we think that this is a great area and the developers think this is a great area for the people to live and thrive in. As far as having affordable housing, that's definitely something that will be taken into consideration once we get into the actual design. So again, that keeps us the range from 600 up to 900 allows us to do that. It will be a condominium development, so it is not the intent to do this as a rental.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions of council? Councillor Kerrio.
Well, Your Worship, just a comment. Just the size of the units are indicating to me that they're going to be somewhat affordable. And if we want to talk about affordable housing, it's not the builder that throws all the costs on building these units. Development charges, regional development charges, city development charges, red tape. That's all the stuff that adds to these. If we want to really get involved in helping them, we got to go after those things. You know, the size of the unit could be affordable, but when you do all the things that the governments and us included make them do, it takes it out of the realm of being affordable.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none? Seeing none, the public meeting with respect to the proposed official plan and zoning bylaw amendment is now concluded. What's the will of council? Councillor Kerrio, seconded by Councillor Thompson. All those in favor? Okay, and that's approved unanimously. Great, thank you for that.
Great, thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Thanks, Mr. Allen. Thank you, Ms. Hannah. Okay, so we're moving along to our final asset management plan, core assets. Who will be addressing this? Will this be Mr. Nicol?
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, the council is asked to approve the asset management plan. This is a follow-up to our draft asset management plan and presentation. We don't have a presentation this evening because we unpacked a lot of it for you previously, but we're asking for approval so that we can meet our July 1st deadline. We have a resolution later this evening that will be shared with the province. And we're asking that this start the process of incorporating the recommendations into the longer term budgeting, starting with our budget process next year. And we'd also like to move forward with the extension of the contract with the consultant to start working on our non-core assets, which would include our rec facilities and the like. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Iannoni.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Mr. Nicol. Have we looked at, or even to our CEO, have we looked at natural asset management? I've been doing a little bit of research on it because somebody sent me an article. And there's 5 communities now in Canada that are doing it. Oakville, Region of Peel, District of West Vancouver, Nanaimo, and Grand Forks. And they're finding that it's having great success with them. Have we looked at natural management asset?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, and to the councillor's question, we would like to look at it, and it is part of our longer-term asset management strategy. So right now we're looking at our core assets, we'll look at our non-core assets, and then as a follow-up, likely past 2025, we'll do a full natural inventory asset management plan, and those assets will be valued, and we'll look at strategies to make sure that they are preserved and we reinvest in those assets so they're here for the community.
Councillor?
Thank you. We're going to have a climate change report shortly, and natural asset management is important in 2022, not 2025. So I'm just kind of curious as to why we're putting it off that far.
Okay, our CAO.
Thank you. Through the chair, to be blunt, we're behind on our asset management plan that's required for the province. So we need to do what's required first. We do agree with the councillor that we need to develop that plan. We're actually taking our first steps this year. We're going to do a tree inventory, which or to update. That's one of our significant assets that we need to undertake that inventory. So don't disagree with the councillor. We're just trying to meet our provincial requirements first because we're kind of condensed on time, and then we'll integrate the natural assets into it and into the broader strategy for climate change adaptation. So long answer to a short question is we're behind and we need to get caught up.
I'd like to see us maybe get caught up a little quicker than 2025 because we see development coming, we see green space disappearing, we see a lot of things that our natural asset management would help as we see with our asset management plan here. So I just wanted to put them that 3 years is a long way away when you're talking climate.
Yep, Mr. CAO.
Yeah, through the chair, I don't want to, we're going into our strategic planning sessions internally with management. The environmental issues are clearly rising to the top. It's something we want to develop a sound strategy for. The reality is we'd probably be putting it into our budget in 2023 or 2024, which means you won't actually get a strategy until 2025. So 2025, I don't want to, I want to be realistic. I don't want to get a good strategy out there. And I think that, 2024 would be the dead earliest we could. And I hate to shock anybody, but we're millions of dollars behind on our core assets. We're going to be millions of dollars behind on our non-core assets, and we need to figure out how to deal with that, and then we got to work in that. So, but that being said, it'll be integrated into our strategic plan for the new council for the next 4 years session. And council at that time, if you want to elevate and put more money into the budget, I think staff would be more than happy to take on that challenge.
Thank you. Councillor Lococo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I completely agree about the climate change, that we definitely need to be looking at it sooner rather than later. I do have a question about the budget. Throughout the report, it talked about increased available funds through property taxes, increased funds through water and wastewater fees, increased tax. So if we approve this now, do you have an idea of how much it's going to increase every year for the next 10 years? Because if the next budget comes along, you bring a budget and you say, well, we have to do this percentage in order to meet this asset plan management that we're doing, and then the next year it's already at this amount. Do you have an idea about that? That's what I was concerned about.
Through the chair to council, this is what keeps me up at night. Asset management is is a challenge every community is facing. The reality is the province has required a financial plan by 2025 for it. If you take, the simplest of terms, if your a 1% increase is worth just under $800,000, so if you're $6 million behind, do the math, that's what you'll do. The math is one thing, the tax increase, potential tax increase is one item. There's a whole other issue there. You also need the people to be able to execute it. Even if I had the money, I don't have all the engineers and everybody else to execute on the plan. So it requires a whole strategy to figure out how to accomplish, getting back on track with asset management. So, we will be working on that. We'll also take other strategies that aren't purely just a tax increase strategy. So, for example, we have sewer lining strategies. So instead of replacing a sewer completely, we line the sewer, we extend the useful life of that sewer at, a fraction of the cost going forward. We also need to take a look at what assets do we want to retain. Because for every asset you retain, you need to be able to fund it. So there might be some assets that we say, it's not worth retaining that asset. We'll reduce our liability, which reduces the cost. So we need to develop a plan to financially pay for it. But if you did the rough math just on the core non-water assets, the tax levy increase would be closing in on 9%, but that's not something that we're going to recommend to council at the end of the day.
Thank you. Through the mayor to the CAO, I completely understand why we need to do these asset management plans. I'm all supportive of it. I am concerned about the tax implications. So as long as you don't come back next year for the new council and say tax rate is going to be 8% and the following year is going to be 15%, as long as we're not signing up for that, I'm fine with the plan. I completely support the plan.
I'll be transparent. I'll just be transparent and honest. At the end of the day, the province requires the asset management plan to be financed, and the reality is everyone's going to go through a large tax increase to deal with that. Is it 9%? That's not where we want to be. We want to be something other than that, and we'll have to make, the next council will have to make some difficult choices with how they want to proceed with their asset management plan. And the challenge with the asset management plan that every community is facing is when you delay it, the more you delay it, the steeper the wall gets. So, but we wanted to develop a good 10-year plan, so it's not a complete burden to the taxpayer.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments of council? Okay, so we're looking for a motion to endorse the city's asset management plan. Motion by Councillor Kerrio, second by Councillor Campbell. We'll call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, and that's unanimous. Thank you for that. Item 8.2, monthly tax receivables report. Looking for the recommendation council receive it.
Move the recommendation.
Motion by Councillor Pietrangelo, seconded by Councillor Strange that we receive the report. All those in favor? Okay, and that's approved unanimously. 8.3, low-income seniors and people with disabilities water and property tax rebate program.
Move the recommendation.
Okay, a recommendation by Councillor Thompson, second by Councillor Pietrangelo. All those in favor? Okay, and that's unanimous. Excuse me. 8.4, fire truck procurement update. There are two recommendations that council approve. The capital budget amendment of $75,000 and that council receive and file the report. Motion by Councillor Strange, seconded by Councillor Kerrio. All those in favor? Okay, and that's unanimous. Thank you. Item 8.5, development charges, treasurer's statement. Recommendation that council receives the report.
So moved.
Motion by Councillor Iannoni, seconded by Councillor Pietrangelo. All those in favor? Okay, and that's unanimous. Item 8.6, Niagara Falls Cemetery Services Comprehensive Cemeteries Plan. We've got, well, I understand we've got Fraser Drysdale here. Mr. Richardson. Maybe we'll call you up, and if you'd like to do the introduction, and then we've got before us two recommendations.
Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. This evening on the line we have Fraser Drysdale of Hilton Landmarks GSP Group, our consultant who completed the Niagara Falls Comprehensive Cemeteries Plan. So at this time I'd like to pass the mic over to him to pick up on the presentation.
All right. Can you hear me?
We hear you fine. Yep, we hear you fine.
Hello. So the Niagara Falls Comprehensive Cemeteries Plan. The first thing I'd like to say is that cemeteries are often undervalued in municipalities. We as people tend not to like to think about our own mortality, but the sad reality is that ultimately all of us will need after death care services at some point. Could I have the next slide, please? So we will go through the steps here of the Cemetery Comprehensive Plan. There's a few key points that I'd like to cover. The next slide, please. So the process, simply, we look at this. We looked at the cemetery's current state. We forecast cemetery demand and land needs, which is one of the two key points. Perpetual care fund adequacy being the next. Perpetual care fund is the provincially mandated fund into which a portion of every lot, plot, crypt, and niche sold must be put. And the principal in that fund cannot be touched. Only the interest can be removed, and that interest is used to pay for ongoing maintenance of the cemetery. Then we'll talk about the need for cemetery expansion and potential opportunities there. Also, as part of this plan, prices were benchmarked against other regional cemeteries. Marketing recommendations as well as the cemetery bylaw was reviewed with recommendations there. Next slide, please. So Niagara Falls cemeteries, they are among the best maintained cemeteries in the province, and not only the cemetery grounds themselves, but as you've heard already tonight, the programs at the cemetery are, well, they're among the best in the province as well. You've heard about the Korean War Memorial. You've heard about the Youth Action Committee's program there. Those are just two among many of the programs, including tours and historical events, as well as areas of the cemetery, the first green burial area in the region, Willow's Rest, a number of novel and very innovative programs being offered by the cemetery. Next slide, please. Two very important considerations you need to think about when you're talking about cemeteries, and that is under the Funeral, Burial, and Cremation Services Act, the FBCSA, the provincial act which governs the cemeteries in Ontario. Ultimately, all cemeteries become municipal responsibilities because when they are full and abandoned, and the organizations that run them, either nonprofit organizations or church-run cemeteries, when they can no longer do it, those cemeteries will devolve to municipal responsibilities. So you have to be aware that ultimately all the cemeteries will fall into your purview. The second important consideration is that over the long term, the only source of revenue that matters to cemetery sustainability is the PCF, the Perpetual Care Fund. And that is because simply cemeteries are a depleting asset. They are a use of land. So once a cemetery has sold all the lots within it and interred in them and put up monuments, no further revenue accrues to that cemetery. And the only source of income at that point is the income on the Perpetual Care Fund. So it's important to make sure that the Perpetual Care Fund gets to a fiscally sustainable point by the time you run out of cemetery land. Next slide, please. So Niagara Falls, current state of the cemeteries, there's 32 cemeteries in the region. The municipality is responsible for 24 of them. 4 of them are active. Those are the red dots you see in the urban area there. That's Fairview, Lundy's Lane, the Stanford Green, Columbarium, and St. Andrews Cemetery. There are 2 semi-active cemeteries. Those are cemeteries in which interments are still being done, but there is no further lots to be sold. And the rest, those orange dots around the rest of the region, are inactive pioneer cemeteries. So they are cemeteries that the city must maintain, but no revenue accrues to them at all. And you'll notice when we get to it, sorry, we gotta go back just one, the black square refers to the proposed expansion property up at Mewburn, up in the north there, just outside the urban area. Next slide, please. So Fairview and Lundy's Lane, the two active cemeteries that have at least some very minor amount of developable land. In the case of Fairview, about an acre, which is rapidly depleting in that sort of sausage-shaped area towards the north, and in Lundy's Lane, in the southern portion there's about 1/2 of an acre. Again, both suffer from development issues, things that are preventing them, and also they are being depleted at a fairly rapid rate. Next slide, please. These are the other 2 active cemeteries. Neither of them have any developable land, so there, although they do still have some inventory of lots and plots. Next slide, please. This is the demand forecast. So looking at annual burials and cremation inurnments, you can see that they are climbing as the population increases and as the population ages, as the baby boomers age particularly. So you can see that this number, the cemeteries will be increasing in their sales and in the need for cemeteries over the coming years. And we prepare 2 forecasts. The lower one is the status quo, which says if nothing is done. The high demand is if the cemeteries are improved in their marketing and services and availability, and demand will increase. In either case, you're looking at about 10 acres that is going to be needed over the next 25 years, around 0.4 acre of cemetery land need per year. Against, as I said earlier, we have 1.5 acres remaining. Next slide, please. So there is only 1.5 acres at the 2 active cemeteries. Cemetery expansion land is needed, about 10 acres. There were 6 potential properties evaluated. Mewburn was selected for a number of reasons. It is, as you saw on the previous map, relatively close to the urban area. It's on the fringe. There are no suitable sized properties within the urban perimeter that are large enough for a cemetery. You need a minimum of about 45 acres, and 80 acres is adequate for a cemetery. This is a potential development concept, early stages for that, but nonetheless, Mewburn is the preferred area because it is city owned. If you have to purchase a property, given current property prices, you are looking at several $1 million, which from what I just heard about the budget, probably would not be a very agreeable idea. The other approval factors are that it's very close to the urban area, and it was already identified for cemetery development in a previous report back in 2013, I believe. The approval process, we can probably step over that at this point. Next slide. This is the other key relevant point here, and this is annual maintenance expense for all of the 24 Niagara Falls cemeteries, about $1 million, 2020 dollars. The PCF balance at the end of 2019 was $4.25 million. Average withdrawal about 128,000, which is about 13% of the annual maintenance expenses. Now that is not as dire as it seems on the face of it, because as long as you have property to sell, you've got revenue coming in for lot sales, revenue coming in for interments. So very few, in fact, could count on the fingers of one hand, probably the cemeteries in Ontario that have adequately funded PCFs at this point, because it was only started in 1955. It became a provincial requirement. But so long as you've got land to sell, you can get to that point. And that's the key point, where you need to get, assuming a 2.5% real rate of return, is about 38 million in there, which seems like a lot. But each acre sold at the current and projected sales mix of lots and niches returns almost $600,000 to the PCF. Therefore, you need about 45 acres. Mewburn will supply almost 80 acres of cemetery land. The bottom line here being that cemetery expansion land is needed. There is no choice, because if the city does not expand the cemeteries, they will be stuck with the cemeteries they have with underfunded PCFs, because there's only 1.5 acres land left, and it will be an ever increasing burden upon the taxpayers to pay for that ongoing maintenance. The other findings of the plan are that the developed amenities as demand requires, and the plan outlines annual demand for each of the various types of amenities: casket lots, cremation plots, columbarium, niches, etc. We also recommend that you only withdraw the real rate of return. You are allowed by law to withdraw all of the interest from the perpetual care fund each year, but we recommend withdrawing only the real rate of return, that is the nominal rate of return minus the rate of inflation, because that allows your fund to keep pace with the effects of inflation so that you're not playing catch up as inflation inevitably raises your expenses. We recommend the prices be adjusted per the report recommendations, and that the legal department review the report's bylaw recommendations. That's the final slide. I'd be happy to answer any questions that there may be.
Thank you, Mr. Drysdale. Do we have any questions of council for Mr. Drysdale? Okay, seeing none, I think we're good. So thank you very much for that. We do have 2 recommendations, and I'm not sure, Mr. CAO, were you gonna? Oh.
Look for which one?
Oh, yeah, for the cemetery plan, we've got 2 recommendations, and I think were we gonna have to do something here?
There's a recommendation from the in-camera that'll come also.
Oh, that'll come after? I got it, okay. Councillor Lococo.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, now I'm confused. Do I bring up the motion now?
That's what I was trying to get at, but it seems we don't. So I'm just checking with the clerk and our CAO the appropriate time.
It'll come from the minutes from the in-camera.
Yeah, we'll do that in ratification.
Okay, so no, that's going to be a ratification at the end when we do in camera.
So do we approve this report?
Yes, so we received the report and the planning for the Chippewas. Hold on, I'm looking at the wrong one. Here's plan, applications, comprehensive cemeteries plan as part of the future budget. Yeah, yep.
But the report is recommending something.
Well, it's council approved the comprehensive cemeteries plan, and the council consider the financial implications. So is this specifically speaking to that site? Could we just get clarification on that, Mr. CAO? Because we're not ready to commit to a site at this point.
Through the chair, the report's recommendation will be amended based upon the motion that comes out of in-camera. So that motion will override the report's recommendation. So we'll take the direction that was provided to staff from the in-camera, and then council will make the decision whenever staff reports back on those requests that council made.
So we do nothing?
We receive everything. Well, there's a number of recommendations in the report. It's just that one on site location, the council requested more information on, and that will be added to the added to staff's task.
So yes, Councillor Strange.
Well, Mr. Mayor, while I have Mark Richardson up, we saw him at Mother Earth Day, and there are alternatives to the general, I guess, consensus of getting a proper burial. There's a natural way of doing that, and I know you were saying at Mother Earth Day that it's not not a lot of people in Niagara Falls know about it. In Toronto, it's becoming very popular. Well, I'm giving you the airtime right now because you got Ray over there, so maybe something that you might say may get an article in the paper about a different process of a natural burial.
Thank you. Through you, Your Worship, natural or green burial is an alternative that has been, is considered a fad, but it's in fact been the way we inter our loved ones for generations. It's in fact how we used to inter our loved ones many, many moon ago. And you're absolutely right, Councillor, that it is one of my primary responsibilities with respect to the development of Willow's Rest at Fairview Cemetery, which is a 2-acre wildflower meadow green burial site, is the education process. You know, through the Green Burial Society of Canada and the Green Burial Council in the States, we've been promoting green burials across Ontario, and many of our sales are actually coming from outside of the city and in fact outside of the region, sales as far as North Bay and Toronto. Essentially what it is, you know, for people who are environmentally inclined, have spent the better part of their lives focused on environmental initiatives, this is an option that would really suit them. There are 5 principles of green burial. The first is that the body is not embalmed, so we eliminate the use of the chemicals in the and the preservation of the body. The body is placed in a natural shroud or casket. We don't use an outer liner. We don't use a concrete vault or fiberglass liner. and the body is interred in the earth, which is then left or returned to a natural state. So in the case of Willow's Rest, it's a wildflower meadow. In Picton, Ontario, they have a woodlot burial ground, which is something that I'm personally and professionally invested in bringing to the city as well. And then, of course, with respect to memorialization, we use the area as a whole. So Willow's Rest, with all of the wildflowers and the monarch butterfly pollinator gardens that have been planted, we use that as the memorial, as opposed to placing an individual headstone over top of each lot. So that is green burials, and I encourage everyone and anyone to come to Fairview Cemetery and have a tour, because the people that have been walking through our nature clubs, our bird watching clubs, our local schools, and including MIAC, the Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee, when they've taken the opportunity to come through, they then carry that information forward and share that Niagara Falls is doing something really special, not only in this region, but in Ontario as well.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Just to add clarity to council, the recommendations that are in the attached report to the report, it's really just recommendation number 3 that council is deferring for a further report. So what council is doing is accepting all the recommendations in the report except for recommendation number 3 that relates to planning for a new site, and council's requested more staff. So to be clear, everything in the report is being accepted at this point in time, which will essentially feed into the budget process going forward, and staff will report back on the information for potential new sites.
Did you want to make the motion, Councillor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I'll make the motion to accept the report, except for number 3, that we're coming back with more information on other sites as well.
On the site. Okay, thank you. A motion by Councillor Lococo, second by Councillor Ioannoni. If there's no further discussion, we'll call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you for that. Okay, next we've got the Welcome to Chippewa sign feature condition information. Recommendation, we receive the information, and 2, that future planning, design, and improvement to the sign be referred to future capital budgets. Councillor Thompson, and then Councillor Dabrowski.
Yes, I would move the report, but I want to say that we get the information in a future budget and an idea what's going to happen with this sign. This was a really special event with James Cameron. The whole Chippewa area was out, and they were in a horse driving carriage, and it was really a special day. And as long as the James Cameron is going to remain there as his home in Chippewa, I would move that motion to come back at a future capital budget.
Okay, thank you for that. I've got Councillor Dabrowski.
Yeah, I can through you, I can appreciate what Councillor Thompson's saying about the sign. Unfortunately, with the report back, it's in disrepair. I spoke with a lot of businesses in Chippewa, a lot of residents in Chippewa as well, about the sign. And a lot of the conversations that I had actually came back to a BIA that used to exist in the town of Chippewa. And I even heard there might have been 2 BIAs in the past in Chippewa. As I've been on council, there hasn't been a BIA in Chippewa. But I believe it was the BIA, Councillor Thompson, there was one, he's saying. And they spearheaded that initiative. Unfortunately, that BIA no longer exists, and the sign really, there's nobody solely accountable for that sign. But it made me think, we have 6 BIAs in the city of Niagara Falls. We have Lundy's Lane, Victoria, Fallsview, Queen Street, Main Street, the Ferry, and Clifton Hill. And they all, their mandate, and for anyone watching at home that's not familiar with what a BIA is, it's a business improvement area. Their mandate really is to redirect their taxes to beautify and maintain the streetscapes, whether it be through flower arrangements or lighting or signage like the Welcome to Chippewa sign. And a lot of those discussions, again, came back to historically when there was a BIA in Chippewa, and I thought, what a great discussion and what a great maybe initiative that we can look into. And I'm not saying we should advocate for a BIA in the town of Chippewa at this time. I'm not sure they're even ready for it. in terms of talking to the businesses. But I want to be proactive as a council, and then I think we have to be accountable as well. And I think it would be in the best interest of the Chippewa businesses and Cummington Square. And I can think of, if we do eventually maybe resurrect the BIA in the town of Chippewa, how great it would be for the town. And then we can have some initiatives like the refurbishment of the Chippewa sign, where the BIA can take accountability, and the businesses and the community and the residents could all have input. So love the motion, happy to second it. I think Councillor Ioannoni seconded it, but I wanted to add to it that maybe we could direct economic development staff to just begin preliminary discussions with Chippewa businesses in and around Main Street, in and around Cummington Square, about ways they can get involved in beautifying Chippewa, and where they can help and provide feedback to staff, and maybe those discussions can turn into the possibility of resurrecting a BIA in the town of Chippewa. So I'll leave that on the floor, and I'll leave it open for discussion. But anyway, appreciate the report. It came back quite promptly. Sad to see the sign in the condition that it's in, but appreciate that we'll have city staff maybe add some new flower arrangements and fix and repair the lighting that's currently there, and just get the sign back to the condition that it should be in, and honor Chippewa the way it should be honored, and honor James Cameron as well. I'm not sure if we can reach out to James Cameron to see if possibly he can dig into his pockets and maybe kick a few bucks back to the city of Niagara Falls. But either way, I'll leave that on the floor, and thanks to staff again for bringing the report back.
Okay, Councillor Thompson, are you open to just the addition to the motion that they also, economic development staff, reach out to some of the businesses about discussions around the BIA as well?
Oh, that's fine, yeah.
Okay, so we've got that. So who, Mr. Clerk, okay, Councillor Ioannoni, you okay with that?
I am. I just wanted to take a stand.
Okay.
I supported it being referred to the budget because I don't know about you guys, but I got a lot of feedback on there are things that we could spend our money better on. I don't have a problem. I understand they want a nicer sign, but when that comes out the day after we've got the 5 top of the 6 worst roads, I heard ad nauseum from people, there are better ways for us to spend our money. So for residents to understand this is getting deferred to the next budget doesn't mean what's going to happen, and we're not spending that money today. No. I just wanted to make that clear.
Okay. Councillor Lococo, and then Dabrowski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had a lot of residents contact me as well, and the cost was a huge factor. So as long as we're deferring it, and we can talk about it another time, but there was a lot of other suggestions. They talked about running a design competition to design the sign, having it made by someone in Chippewa, that the city be responsible maybe for a portion, like the electrical. I know the electrical there is broken, but it's only a pole with a light. It's not lights going up on the sign. They talked about maybe, I know maintenance is always an issue, and they talked about maybe the residents of Chippewa maintaining it, or Horticulture Society with some of the plants. So those were some ideas, and including the stakeholders and partnerships. I think we just sort of talked about that. But I would support it to go into another budget phase and reassess it at that time, as long as we're not approving it right now.
Yep, exactly right. Yeah, Councillor Dabrowski, then Kerrio.
Yeah, I think there's some miscommunication around what I originally proposed, and that's just to make sure that the sign doesn't fall into a state where it can't be repaired. And if you look at it, just drive by the sign and hop out your car when it's safe to do so and have a look. I mean, it's falling apart, and the staff report outlines that. So again, appreciate staff taking their time to make sure that we're showing the sign in its best light, no pun intended. And I don't think the discussion was geared towards buying a new sign for the town of Chippewa. It was more or less just making sure that we're being proactive and that it doesn't fall apart to the point where we need a new sign, and where 2 years goes by and we're having a totally different discussion. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Thank you for that. Councillor Kerrio.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just don't want to lose sight of the fact that there's a good opportunity to get sponsorships to help redo the sign. That should be at the top of the list, even when it goes to budget, that we could find sponsors for the sign.
Yeah, absolutely. Get some help, for sure. We can always send it to them. Okay, if there's no further discussion, we'll call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, and that's approved. Thank you for that. Okay, update on implementation strategy for the climate change adaptation plan. Councillor Pietrangelo.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. I didn't know whether or not there was going to be a staff presentation. I do have a couple comments, but I'll defer them if there's going to be a staff presentation. If not, I'll just go ahead.
I don't see that. There's no.
Okay. I can see
No.
Mr. Nichols shaking his head.
Yeah.
Yeah, Your Worship, I just wanted to talk for a few minutes. We've talked about this many times at Park and the City Committee. Climate adaptation plan is very important from a couple standpoints. One would be, the policy side, which the city is entirely in control of. The other side would be the education and behavior of our residents side. And I got to give kudos to the MIAC committee and also to the Park and the City. They do a wonderful job, especially MIAC, trying to educate the youth in terms of the new trends and how they should be behaving towards the environment. And Park and the City does so many different events. I know you mentioned in your opening remarks the Mother Earth Day that we do. There's also the Summer Trillium Awards. There's the curbside giveaway. There's the clean sweeps, which now don't just happen only in the spring and the fall. They happen at any point in the year. And then there's multiple tree plantings, Your Worship. And on the tree planting side of it, which kind of gets into the policy of the city, a lot of experts still agree that trees are our best defense against climate change. And we've had some discussions as well with Mr. Burgess. I think Councillor Strange is going to mention that. But what we'd like to see go forward is an urban forest strategy. Urban forest strategy would include all different kinds of things that have to do with the forestry department, such as, you have your tree canopy, you have your species diversity, you have your different hardscaping that you use, trying to get a permeable solution so that water can filter through. You have, the size of your trees, the age of your trees. You're able to catalog all your street trees, and then you can come up with a maintenance plan. So I guess to relate it to other departments, like our Parks, Rec, and Culture has a master plan, and they go to that master plan in order to, get, I guess, an understanding of what needs to be done in their department. If you take engineering, for example, engineering now has our asset management plan. So the urban forest strategy would be a master plan for our forestry department. It's something that I'd really like to see go forward, and I know all the Park and the City members would like to see it go forward as well. The other thing I wanted to talk about, Your Worship, since we're on the topic of trees, is when we get into species diversity, and I wish that the suggestion would came forward 10 years ago, because I think that's how long it takes. I would love to see staff explore the opportunities of a partnership with either the Niagara Parks Commission, Niagara College, or even Violin Industries, three local institutions that the city can partner with, so that they can grow our trees for us, and then we can buy them back from them. It's very important from a diversity standpoint, because we know that we had the ash borer bug come through, and it went through every single municipality, so everyone is in the same boat. So trying to get trees is at a premium right now. Simply because of the ash borer. Every municipality is in the same boat. So not only has the cost of trees went up, but the actual species that we're able to buy has diminished. And when you take a look at, trying to diversify and put some of the native trees into our city, we really don't get that opportunity because they're not readily available at all of your private nurseries. One in particular would be like your black gum tree that will take, anywhere between 10 to 15 years to get to a point so that it can be transplanted somewhere in your municipality. And we're just not able to find a lot of the specialized trees when we go to nurseries. So being able to partner with a local educational institution would be so ideal for the city. Those are two things I know I'd like to see go forward. I'd like to make them part of the recommendations that we have here. So the urban forest strategy, and then also, exploring the opportunity of a partnership with one of the local institutions. I know Councillor Strange has some comments, and then I don't know if Mr. Burgess wants to comment.
Mr. Mayor, I don't have much to say actually, but I was really happy and pleased to have the CEO. He attended our Park and the City Committee and talked about trees and inventory of trees and just following up on, you'll go across the street sometimes and you see 5 or 6 boulevards that may not have a tree on them, and there may be a reason why, because whether it was because of our sewer repair and caused millions of dollars of damage. So he was just explaining different ways of actually making people responsible for trees, possibly taking care of them. I know in I think it was Hamilton, they have like a tree giveaway. So not necessarily you don't have to. You can get the tree. You don't necessarily have to put it on your city boulevard. You can actually put it on your backyard, your front yard, and you're guaranteed to take care of it. A lot of times when you put a tree that's not ready to go up, or it's on a boulevard, and who's supposed to take care of it? Do we have the staff to take care of it? So I think he explained a lot and different ways that we can implement it and having something in place. And I think it was great to see our CEO come out. I think it was the first time a CEO has ever come out to our Park and City Committee. So I just appreciate him coming out and giving us some information.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Lococo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We are doing a lot of great things, and I found after reading the report and a lot of education sessions that I've been attending, a lot of times we're working in silos, and as Councillor Pietrangelo said, is the departments need to sort of talk together. In this report under the climate adaptation plan, it talks about the tree bylaw, the tree canopy, and there's 2 different parts of a tree canopy. There's the municipal, which we're trying to get the inventory, but there's also the private canopy. So getting an inventory of that is completely different, but that's what we need to do to understand what our tree canopy is. It talks about the definition of the woodlot, and those were the motions that I brought earlier, was the tree bylaw, private tree bylaw, a canopy, and the woodlot. There's something else that I'd like to add. It's called a green development standard. It's actually in, on 11.3 on our agenda, there's a resolution from Kitchener that talks about the green development standards. I attended a session and they talk about different initiatives that we can put into place or work towards putting in place for builders when they're building, that they are building green, that it is sustainable. So I would like to add to Councillor Pietrangelo's about urban forestry strategy, I'd like to add a green development standards for our building and our planning as well.
Okay. Okay, so Mr. CEO, Mr. Clerk, can you just help me through this?
I'll just ask for
Pardon me?
I'll just ask for clarification.
Clarification from?
The councilors.
Okay, clarification, okay.
So just so staff's clear, I think what council's asking for is 2 additional recommendations to be included. One is a strategy to complete an urban forest strategy. I believe seeking partnerships, we can add those named organizations as part of recommendation number 3. We'll put in or other organizations such as Niagara College for part of finding the strategy. And then for the green development strategy, that'd be a recommendation for staff to report back to council on a green development strategy. So I think we can just add those 2 recommendations and amend recommendation number 3. And we'll go from there. And these are all great suggestions, and staff doesn't have any resistance to that. The green development strategies, we've already been talking to Kira. I'm a big proponent of incentivizing. Can we do it through our DCs? We have that. We have that going through. So the biggest challenge for, I just want to be clear with expectation. The biggest challenge for staff is we've done this study. We have lots of great ideas and more ideas. We don't actually have the resources available to put a point person on to work through, and that's why one of the recommendations is for the $75,000. And what I will tell council is that I am trying to work with other communities to cost share on some of these strategies, because our strategy won't be that much different, frankly, than Fort Erie's or Thorold's, and if we can all kind of cost share and develop a bit of a regional strategy, that is something we'll do. So we're fine with those. I think it's 2 additional recommendations. Just to be clear, it's just for the urban forestry strategy and a green development strategy to come back to council.
That's great. Thank you very much for that, Mr. CEO. I just want to add, we are doing all of these things as a municipality, and you said that we want to have initiatives about how to get developers to do that. We need housing, but we also have to have a balance of a strategy. We can't keep cutting down all of the trees and building houses and then sticking up sticks. So I know when I've talked with Ms. Dolch, I've talked to her about these green development standards. She has already talked to me about moving the tree preservation plan up to the beginning and not at the end, so that's a great thing that we're doing as well. We really have to look at that building part of it, not just what the city's doing, but for our builders and to be sustainable, so that's why I wanted to include it. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Kerrio?
Just a quick question, Your Worship. When staff comes back with that part about the green development strategy and the cost that would be associated with it, I would assume. So if you were going to say we want a green development strategy, we want to make sure that if we're going to approve something and we put on a green development strategy, I just would like to know what the costs are that are associated with it, because that goes in hand with what I said before. Every time we get up and make a comment about adding something to the cost of a home, it's controversial or contrary to what we're trying to do for cheaper housing. So I just want the costs associated with it to be part of it.
Okay, that's okay there. And then Councillor Pietrangelo, for your addition for part 3, you were suggesting Niagara College, Niagara Parks Commission?
Research.
Vineland Research. Okay, right, okay. Okay, so just so we got it straight here, so motion by Councillor Pietrangelo, seconded by Councillor Lococo, that we move the recommendations with the amendment to number 3, that we do an urban strategy that also includes.
That would be number 5. That would be recommendation number 5.
Oh, I thought weren't you adding it to 3? No?
His partnerships were to 3, and then he's adding a new one.
Okay, so the partnerships to 3, we add on Niagara College, Niagara Parks Commission, and Vineland Research. And then we add number 5, which will be urban development. Okay, or I'm sorry, urban forestry strategy.
Green development strategy.
And green development strategy.
It's actually standards, not strategy. It's GDS. It's a program already existing.
Okay, so, and green development standard report back from staff with the costs. Okay, did I get everything there? Yeah. Okay, good. Don't ask me to repeat it. So we'll just call the vote then. All those in favor? Okay, and that's unanimous. Thank you for that. Okay, item 8.9, school crossing guard level of service review. The recommendation that council approve the staff recommendation. And it has discontinuing midday lunchtime school crossing guard for all locations starting June 30th.
Yeah, I think so.
Yep, Councillor Lococo and then Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just had a question. There was no financial implication on here. What is the savings by doing that?
Yep, Mr. Nickel.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, I have Mr. Bilodeau online today. He's prepared to take that type of question. It was something that we were prepared to incorporate into the future budget, but we do have an estimate of what the savings would be on an annual basis. So if you can ask that question to Mr. Bilodeau.
Okay, Mr. Bilodeau, are you there?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. My apologies, my camera's not working. But we can anticipate an $85,000 to $100,000 in annual savings if this service is discontinued.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any concern that any of the crossing guards might get work elsewhere if they're not getting enough hours? Is there any concern? Has there been any discussion with them about that?
Staff haven't been informed yet of this direction. We're looking towards the summer to address any staffing issues should they arise.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, if I may add too, we've had a fairly large turnover in crossing guard resources, so we may lose some, but I think that part of the challenge with midday service is you have a 2-hour morning or an hour at noon and then an hour in the afternoon, so it really breaks up your days. So we feel that this may be actually an encouraging way to get additional resources who may have free time in the morning and afternoon but want their day to do golf or whatever it is they might want to do.
Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, so did someone move the recommendation? I'm sorry, did I?
Yes.
Yeah, Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
and Councillor Strange. Okay, we'll call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. Item 810, Rec and Culture, awarding of public art at the Exchange. That's the recommendation, city receive the report. Motion by Councillor Campbell, second by Councillor Kerrio. All those in favor? Okay, and that's approved. Thank you. Item 811, honorary street naming. Sorry? Okay, motion, moved by Councillor, who said it first? Councillor Campbell, second by Councillor Pietrangelo, that we move the recommendation. All those in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. Item 812, insurance renewal report. The recommendation that council approve the comprehensive insurance program. Moved by Councillor Pietrangelo, seconded by Councillor Strange. All those in favor? Okay, and that is approved. Okay, now the consent agenda. What's the direction of council? Okay.
Second. Yeah.
Motion is second. Does anyone want anything lifted in the consent agenda? Okay, seeing not, motion by Councillor Kerrio, second by Councillor Thompson, that we move the consent agenda. All those in favor? Okay, and that's unanimous. Let's get through this. 495, whoops.
I can run through these.
Okay, yeah. Mr. Clerk?
Just looking at item 10 on the agenda, communications and comments of the city clerk. The first portions would be sections 10.1 to 10.10 for council's approval and or support. Is there any of those that want to be lifted? Through the mayor, I see Councillor Lococo would like to discuss one of those items.
I have a conflict on 10.1 and I'd like to pull 10.5, please.
0.5. Okay.
About lighting.
Yep, do you want, okay, go ahead. You want to go ahead and address it?
As a councillor, I didn't know that we were lighting up City Hall. I've had a resident ask me about lighting up City Hall before. I didn't know that there was a process.
I didn't either.
So do we have this process on the website? Can someone apply for it? What do we do? How do we let people know about it?
Through the chair, we don't really have a process. This was something I think new last year when we had a similar request. And I think staff went out and resurrected the blue light special and got some lights. But no, there isn't a process for, in fact, I think when this request first came in, we just naturally assumed it was for the falls and had to reread it to see that it was for City Hall. So that is some direction we could take back to look at a process for establishing that.
Yes, I would put a motion forward to establish a process. Someone did ask to light the City Hall as the Ukrainian colors, the blue and yellow, and I said, oh, we don't do something like that. So when I read this, I thought, uh-oh.
Maybe we're better off get a report back. Because,
if we can get a report
yeah.
about how it would be done, what is the cost, who's involved, what do we have the special colored lights? I don't know where
because we don't have any of that. And there was a report when we redid City Hall to bring in LED lights to do exactly that, and it was turned back because it was expensive. So we may want to, we'll have a look at that. It's not that cheap. So
thank you.
Okay, Councillor. Yeah, I got Councillor Thompson, and then Dabrowski.
Yes, I just want to 10.9.
Oh, we're just dealing with 10.5 right now, Wayne. We're not done. I just want to make sure we're done with 10.5.
Oh.
Is there?
Oh,
so
okay.
we're going to ask staff to bring. Okay, motion by Councillor Lococo to ask staff to come back with a.
Yes, that would be
London
appreciated.
City
Thank
Hall
you.
report. Second by Councillor Pietrangelo. Any discussion to that motion? Yes, Councillor Dabrowski.
I was going to bring up through you. Maybe we can generate some discussions with the Winter Festival of Lights, especially if we're utilizing these lights in the off season, in terms of the Winter Festival of Lights. But rather than purchase lighting, maybe we can work with them. But just throwing that out there. I'm sure it'll be part of the staff report.
It's a good idea. It's a good idea. Is there any other discussion to that motion? Okay, let's call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, that's approved unanimously. Now, Councillor Thompson, you want to talk about 10.9?
Yes, this is the BIA. With the pandemic, the accountant couldn't do the budget for this year for the BIA to approve it. So we talked with the clerk and he says, why don't you just take last year's budget and the committee approved that. So this is last year's 103, and we're okay with that.
Okay, okay.
Because if we didn't have it on this agenda, they couldn't go out and tax the BIA after this date. So, thank you.
Okay, well, we'll just do it with the whole lot. Is there anything else anyone needed lifted of the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, I had a motion originally from Councillor Kerrio. Who seconded?
Conflict on that one, Your Worship. I have a conflict.
Okay.
Your Worship, I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Councillor Kerrio, second by Councillor Pietrangelo, with the conflict on the Fallsview BIA budget by Councillor Kerrio for the remainder of the agenda, or the consent agenda. All those in favor? Okay, and that's unanimous. Thank you. So, Mr. Clerk, are you going to take us through communications too?
Sure. Moving on to section 11 of the communications, and these are all lumped together with the staff recommendation to receive and file for information. So those are 11.1 through to 11.8. If there's anything that staff or that council would like lifted, we could do that, or you could approve that all in one motion.
Okay.
I'll move it.
Okay, so we got motion to move them by Councillor Kerrio and Pietrangelo, but is there any you want lifted? Councillor Campbell?
Lift 11.6B.
Okay, well, let's deal with that one first. 11.6, there's a resolution from the City of Thorold declaring state of emergency of mental health, homelessness, and addiction in the City of Thorold. So the floor is yours, Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship. As everyone around this table is aware, we made an attempt to get the region some time ago to declare a state of emergency. And 11 out of 12 municipalities agreed with us, and the region didn't, and nothing happened. And so I see that Thorold, and I think Stephen Seuss has something to be part of this. I'd like to take the information from the report and simply change the City of Thorold to the City of Niagara Falls, and that we declare a state of emergency. There's been an increase in homelessness. There's been an increase in opioid overdoses. There's been an increase in suicide. And if that's not an emergency situation, we have problems. And we do have problems. So thank you for the second.
Okay, motion by Councillor Campbell, seconded by Councillor Ioannoni, that we also declare the state of emergency in the city with regard to the Thorold motion. Okay, if there's no further discussion on this, we'll call that vote. All those in favor? Okay, that's approved. Thank you for that. And then someone else wanted, Councillor Lococo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to pull 11.1, please.
Niagara District Airport Commission. Attached letter is received from Dan Pilon, the CEO of the Niagara District Airport, regarding the RFP. Councillor Lococo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do sit on the Airport Commission, and I just want a notation that all three municipalities have to agree on a vision in the first place before negotiating another RFP. I just want that on record.
Okay. Great. So, okay. Motion by Councillor Pietrangelo, second by Councillor Kerrio, that we move the remainder of the communication, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
All those in favor? Okay, and that's approved. And then where are we at, Mr. Clerk? That went to, okay, so now we're at 12. Okay. Mr. Clerk?
12. Yeah, so the next section, section 12, is a continuation of communications and comments of the city clerk, and it would be items 12.1 to 12.3, where staff is recommending that these items just be referred to staff.
Yep, Councillor Thompson?
Yes, I just want to explain the, from the Fallsview BIA, because of the pandemic and all of the problems, and the convention center was closed up pretty 2 years, and there was a $700,000 owned by the Fallsview BIA as in the original agreement, $15 million. There was $700,000 to be paid, and everybody agreed that no, we will not be able to pay it this year, and all we're saying here is the convention center is going to take that and agreed also that they can't get the money this year. And that was asked by the city, and they never had any response saying, okay, that's all right, but it's not the money from the city. It's gonna, the convention center is going to look after it in future, and things are coming back very good. So I would just receive and accept that letter.
Okay, so item 12.1, why don't we do with them separately then? It's a letter from the city, letter to the city from the Fallsview BIA. So the recommendation from staff is this be referred to staff? Is that what we're supposed to do to deal with it, or what was the?
Yeah, I think the recommendation was to refer it to staff so staff can evaluate it to make sure that there's no other legal implications with regards to the agreement. Is they're asking to amend an agreement. The agreement is a tri-party agreement with the province also, and it also makes reference to the AMEC study in that it's not that they won't impair their building condition assessment. So we just have a few questions on that. So we were going to take it, ask those questions, and then come back to council.
Okay.
But I wanted to explain.
Yep, okay. So you're referring that to staff, Councillor Thompson? Yeah. Okay, second. I need a second.
I will. Is this for all of them?
Just for 12.1. Okay, motion.
He's just pointing out the rationale. He just wanted to speak to it. He's not changing the recommendation.
Okay, well, I'm going to do them separate. So 12.1, you're referring that to staff, seconded by Councillor Pietrangelo. We're going to call the vote on that one. All those in favor? Okay, and that's approved, and we have a conflict from Councillor Kerrio. Second one, 12.2, street name request, and there was a letter that went along with it regarding Marineland Parkway. What's the direction of council on this one? Councillor?
Refer to staff.
Pardon me?
Refer to staff.
Okay, motion by Councillor Campbell to refer to staff. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Lococo. Do we have any discussion to the motion? Okay, seeing none, we'll call the vote then. All those in favor? Okay, I'm sorry, can we get your hands up high? All those in favor? 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's approved. Thank you for that.
As long as it doesn't come back.
Item 12.3, electric scooter bylaw. There's a resident would like council to implement something here, and it's a recommend regarding scooters, kick style. Motion by Councillor Pietrangelo, second by Councillor Strange, that this be referred to staff. Yes, Councillor Lococo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When the report comes back, can there also be some discussion on liability issues? Usually when there's a motorized vehicle like that, which isn't covered in insurance, it's usually covered by a vehicle if it hits it. So they go under that insurance. They usually don't have any insurance, so I'd like to talk about insurance, enforcement, and licensing, and then education.
Okay.
If those pieces could be covered, please.
So can we, so is that just direction to staff? Okay, good. All right, so we've got, yes, Councillor Dabrowski.
If I could add just one point to that, probably the most important thing, safety. If, the safety aspects of electric scooters on sidewalks. Yeah, no, I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Was it?
So staff, we've got that. So we'll call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, and that's approved. Okay, item 13, communications. Is that back to me or is it you? Maybe still, I'm not sure what we're doing.
Well, item 13 is the last bit of communications and comments of the city clerk. These recommendations are very specific, so I would suggest you just deal with those separately as well.
Okay. Yes, Councillor Pietrangelo.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. I don't know if anyone else read the recommendation for 13.1, the water pipe smoking. So I guess it would be kind of like those,
Bongs?
those those Arabic units, like they call them shisha or nargila.
Yep.
Now, I didn't think anyone was allowed tobacco anyway, but you're not allowed non-tobacco? Is that what I understand from the bylaw? And is that only in public places? It's not in private places? Because I know that we do have some restaurants as well, that's part of what they offer. I mean, so I'm just wondering, does the region now passing this bylaw trump the city? And is our motion irrelevant?
Yeah, who could answer that? Mr. CAO?
Yeah, through the chair to the councillor, those are good questions. The challenge of enforcing the bylaw is, the councillor is correct, it was supposed to be non-tobacco, but when you test what's being actually smoked on those, most of them come up with tobacco. So the challenge is, from an enforcement point of view, from the region's no smoking enforcement bylaw issues, is they can't actually enforce the bylaw because it takes them weeks to find out what the person was actually smoking in those. So what they're trying to do is say, well, you're no longer allowed to smoke those in private settings. So the purpose of this bylaw is to align the region's bylaw with all the municipalities' bylaws so that they can enforce the smoking bylaw. And the region has done a fair amount of work with the restaurants and establishments that have this, and they've had in their report, they've had some public feedback from those. But it's just become a challenge that you can't determine what those people are smoking in those water pipes, and it takes too long. So to enforce it, they're just saying you got to get rid of the water pipes, as unfortunately where the region is moving. Adopting this will align us with the region, so that way the region's bylaw enforcement can enforce the bylaw in each of the municipalities.
Councillor Pietrangelo.
Yeah, just to follow up then, Your Worship, I would imagine that vapes as well are already not allowed in public or private places. Is that correct?
I only had the 2 sessions with the region on this one specifically, so but I believe you are correct. Like, I think vaping is covered off, but I think vaping is easier for them to enforce because I think vaping has already been specifically identified in the bylaws. I think this one was they had excluded it because of the potential for not to have tobacco, but what's happened is, even when people don't think they're smoking tobacco, they're actually the product that has tobacco in it, and that's been the challenge for the enforcement.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Motion by Councillor Kerrio, second by Councillor Strange, that we approve the recommendation. All those in favor? Okay, and that's unanimous. Thank you for that. And then 13.2, free transit trips request for the 2022 Canada Summer Games. Councillor Strange? Motion by Councillor Strange, seconded by Councillor Thompson. All those in favor? Okay, and that's unanimous. And now we've got resolutions. Final asset management plan. So is this the one, what is there beeping? Am I hearing something beeping? You guys?
It's been going for ages. I thought it was somebody's phone.
Yeah, I don't know, something beep. There goes again. Okay.
Just to explain
Check on your seat, Jim.
Yeah. Just to explain the one resolution that's on tonight's agenda, it's in relationship to the report 8.1 that was already approved. By having it in a resolution form, it allows staff to pass that off to the ministry to meet deadline requests, as opposed to waiting for the minutes to be approved at the next meeting.
Okay, so can I get a motion to approve the final asset management plan resolution? Councillor Kerrio, second by Councillor Strange. All those in favor? Okay, and that's approved. Thank you for that. And then we've got ratification of in-camera, Mr. Clerk.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. Staff and council did meet earlier today in a closed session as per the resolution that was passed earlier on today's open agenda. 2 matters. First one, direction to staff to report back on the city's insurance coverage, And the second item involving the cemeteries, there was also direction to staff to report back on 3 separate properties for future consideration regarding cemetery use.
Okay. Motion by Councillor Lococo.
Yes, please.
Okay. Seconded by Councillor Campbell. All those in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you for that. New business. Councillor Strange, then Lococo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I received an email from the president of Royal Canadian Legion, Branch 479, Elaine Hall, and I actually ended up seeing her. Was it yesterday we had the Ukrainian?
Yeah, I know
so
my
we had
days
the
too. I missed it last night.
Ukrainian church where there was. You failed to mention that earlier today about the.
Oh.
Do you want to mention that while we're talking? Or?
We were at the, Councillor Lococo and Councillor Strange joined me at the St. Mary's Ukrainian Church on Main Street as we greeted runners from Germany, Poland, and Ukraine running around the world to raise awareness and funds for Ukraine. And you brought your dog. And you dressed in your
I
shorts.
was wearing my Ukrainian shorts, and I thought I was going to have to run with them, but it was
Just to be
actually
clear,
inside a church.
Ukrainian colors, not Ukrainian shorts. He thought he was going to run with them, and they'd already done their run.
They already done the
So
run,
they were
so
just
I was
wondering
just-
why you showed up so
why I'm
casual.
looking like that, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, it was put on by the Lions, and it was amazing, and God bless these runners who are trying to help children who have become orphans, and helping them through running and helping them in what they're going through in Ukraine. And I was talking to Elaine there, and she was sitting at the table with a few other of the Royal Canadian Legion branch members. And a lot of them have fought in the war for Canada, and they have their hall on Spring Street, and they were basically saying, the last couple of years they couldn't do a lot of events, couldn't raise a lot of money, and their parking lot has really, through the winter and everything, has really kind of fallen apart. And I went down there today and I took a picture, and there's had to be about 7 or 8 potholes, and they're kind of reaching out for us to help. And I know it's not kind of our responsibility; it's their parking lot. If anything, probably on the feds, you would think. But I think it's up to us if we can help them in some way. What they've done in the past and fighting for us, and what they've going through now, and PTSD and injuries because of what they've gone through and all the stuff they do for us. They fought for us, and I think we should continue to fight for them, and any way we can do and help them and repair their parking lot, because that's all we need is someone walking through. One of their events is, I know they do fish fries on Fridays, and it's an amazing event, and they raise a lot of money. You don't want one of these veterans to slip over and fall because of these potholes. So I'd just like to direct staff, if we can, you can have a look and potentially, I went over there, they're not really bad, but I think it's something that, the city of Niagara Falls can lend them a hand and help. And so if I can direct staff to go have a look and maybe bring back, or get them fixed as soon as possible, because we don't need anything happen to them. Like I said, what they've done to us, something like this to repay them, and the city of Niagara Falls stepping up, I think it would be amazing.
Okay, so our CAO said they could take that as direction to staff.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Strange.
Sorry, just another one.
Yeah.
I just received these 2 uniforms for 2 of our Heaters Heroes, who are going to be torchbearers, along with myself and Councillor Pietrangelo on this Sunday, and Morrison and Dorchester.
Yeah, I think you won
torchbearer as well.
Well, now you're leaving me out because I left you out from last night.
Yeah, that's
I
what
see.
it is.
I
Yeah.
see. Okay.
Are you behind us running, or
I don't
I'm
know.
sure we'll catch up to
I
you
have no
anyways.
idea. Oh, I'm sure you will too.
Anyway, so these two young boys, Reed Wales, and Reed was here a few years ago. He had the gold bicycle for September for Childhood Cancer Month, and Gavin Nagy. They're both of our former Heaters Heroes, and just so perseverant. They're little heroes themselves and what they've gone through in life. So we're so happy that they can take part. So anybody that would like to come, you can actually buy a shirt off the Rotary Club and actually run with us, and part of that money goes towards the Rotary and helping them. So I'm really looking forward to running with these 2 kids. It's going to be very inspirational. So Morrison, Dorchester, I think it's 10 a.m. that we're going to be starting our run, and we're going to be following these
what
2
day is that?
amazing Sunday.
Sunday, 10 a.m.
Sunday the 26th.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll see everybody out there.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you for that.
You should know that too.
I just made sure you knew.
Okay.
You're first.
Councillor Lococo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I didn't put a notice of motion. I just wanted to talk about this. I know a couple of years ago when we were talking about houses that aren't being maintained, empty houses that are not being maintained, houses coming off of the market for affordable housing. I did bring up an idea about a vacancy tax. And we talked about a lot of different things and we didn't get there, but I know there's other communities that are bringing up ideas about vacancy tax. It's a safety issue. There's fires starting in them. They're not being maintained. It is coming off of the market for affordable housing. I'd like to put a motion forward with the approval of council that our staff bring back a report on vacancy tax. So the pros, the cons, is it something that we would like to do?
Okay, so just before we take the motion, CAO, sorry.
Sure, through the councillor, we did receive your correspondence. We will generate a report. We're also looking at other options to a vacancy tax, such as the City of St. Catharines recently did a licensing of vacant residences. So we'll bring back something on some of the pros and cons of each option and what is the ultimate goal that council wants to achieve from it. But more than happy to take that away. In fact, staff, because of what you've done, have already started it. So, but we'll pretend like it's a surprise for us.
Okay.
So do we need a motion for that, or do we?
It can even be staff direction, because we're already working on it.
Okay, that's fine. It's staff direction. We don't need a motion.
I'm just looking at Ms. Dolch. We only have two meetings left. Is it possible for an interim report on the August meeting?
So we are bringing a report forward for the BIA with all the issues they listed on and one included the vacancies tax, so that will be coming forward in July. What we can do is either a more robust report on vacancy tax, because that was just going to cover off the high level, and then we'll do a larger report in August.
We'll target August.
Okay, thank you. And I thought that one was commercial space vacancy tax. This is a private residence vacancy tax. So as long as we get the information. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other new business? Motion for adjournment, Councillor? I'm sorry. Oh my God, I'm sorry. Bylaw.
It doesn't count.
No, because now we flipped it around. We used to do it for years the other way. Councillor Pietrangelo?
Yeah, first, second, and third.
Motion to give the bylaws a first, second, and third reading. Second by Councillor Campbell. All those in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. Motion for adjournment, Councillor Iannoni and Dabrowski. All those in favor? And we're adjourned. Thank you.